Imagine yourself being forced into an airplane, and all you have on you are your clothes and a parachute. With you, inside the plane, there are 99 strangers, all in the same position as you. You fly over a locked off area, completely desolated. You get forced to jump out of the aircraft, and while falling through the thin layer of clouds, you see a group of people parachuting into a city. You release your chute and decide to go into a big building. Inside of it, you see a gun. You pick it up before hearing somebody running outside of your building. You quickly put a magazine into your weapon and aim it at the direction of the footsteps before seeing an armed person running into your room, firing at you. You do the only thing you can do and kill that person. You take that person's weapons and medical items and move on. Once you get out of the building, you see a huge blue wall coming towards you. You realize that this is a battle until there's only one more standing, and you start looting buildings and kill whoever you see in order to stay alive. Some time passes and there's just one more person. You decide to shoot him, and you win the game. Your reward? A chicken dinner for yourself and up to 3 friends. What I just described was probably what you would consider a great first round of PUBG. Only 1 in 6,000 people happened to win their first game in this battle until death video game, and over the past year the game has quickly become one of the most popular games to ever exist. But what is PUBG? What's the idea behind it? And why is it so popular? In this video, I will be talking about just that, and this is my first video on this channel, and before I start off, I would just like to use a few seconds to ask for some criticism. A YouTuber named Ruskie inspired me to start making video essays, and to start off, I chose to pick something safe, PUBG, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about. So I will be talking about a variety of things, so if you want to skip to a certain topic regarding PUBG, there will be some timestamps in the description so you can skip to, for example, how to get better at the game, or if you rather want to hear about how the game went from an idea to a worldwide success, you can click the timestamp of your choice in the description. So yeah, thanks for your attention, and let's go into the video. Ever since the Japanese book and movie Battle Royale was released back in 2000, people long for a video game where you fought to the death, like in the movie. The movie is about a group of 42 Japanese students who are put on a deserted island and are forced to kill each other until there's just one more alive, and it's easy to see why so many people wanted a game like this. But unfortunately, such a game never came, and the hype disappeared until Susan Collins' Hunger Games books were released several years later, with movies following it, making the Battle Royale genre popular once more. With Minecraft being one of the first games to get such a mode, also known as survival games, someone wanted a more true-to-life version of such a game. Brendan Green, better known by his online handle, Playerunknown, took it upon himself to make such a game back in 2013. He started off by making a mod for Arma 2 using the DayZ mod as a foundation, and named his mod DayZ Battle Royale. Arma 2 was back then and still is known as one of the most realistic shooters out there, with nearly simulator levels of realism put into every detail. Green had tried such games as Call of Duty and other AAA titles without feeling satisfied with the repetitive gameplay and small and easy to memorize maps. He wanted to create some random aspects so that players wouldn't know what to expect, and that would create a high degree of replayability. And this was essentially done by creating a huge map that aren't easily memorized and using random item placements across it. Once DayZ became its own standalone game back in 2013, the players' interest in Green's mod trailed off, and Green transitioned into development of a similar mod to Arma 3. Sony Online Entertainment, now known as Daybreak Game Company, had become interested in Green's work, and brought him on as a consultant to develop the game H1Z1, licensing the Battle Royale name from him. In February 2016, Sony Online split H1Z1 into 2 games, the survival mode Just Survive, and the Battle Royale-like game, The King of the Kill, around the same time that Green's consolation period was over. Green was never satisfied with how the H1Z1 game had turned out, and around the same time, Bluehole, a massive MMO and mobile game publisher in South Korea, had found interest in Green's idea of a Battle Royale video game. Bluehole wanted to create a video game that would become a big thing in Korea, knowing that it would eventually be published worldwide. Chang Han Kim, who had been inspired to make a Battle Royale game after playing DayZ, wanted to make a game like this through the early access model. This model basically means that the game will be playable while being in development, essentially meaning that the players would be playing an alpha or beta build of the game, also known as a testing version. While Kim researched previous Battle Royale games and mods online, he came across Green's mods and reached out to him, offering Green a job on the new Battle Royale concept. Within a week, Green had flown over to Bluehole's headquarters in Korea to discuss the options, and a few weeks later he became the creative director of Bluehole. Development of the game began in early 2016 and was publicly announced June the same year, with plans to have the game ready and playable within a year. In the beginning, Bluehole started with a team of about 35 developers supporting Green's work, but initially expanded to 70 people by June 2017. In March 2017, the game was finally released for the people to enjoy with an early access model, and the game has become the popular hit it is today. In just 3 days, PUBG earned over $11 million, and after just 3 months, the game had sold over 4 million copies worldwide. In August 2017, PUBG became the most played game on Steam ever in terms of concurrent players, beating Dota 2. In October 2017, the game was more popular in Korea than League of Legends, the longtime king. With the rapid growth of interest in the game, Bluehole spun out an entire development of the Battlegrounds into Bluehole Geno Games in September 2017, which was renamed PUBG Corporation with Chang Han Kim as the CEO. The PUBG Corporation are continuously developing the game and has opened an office in the United States with plans for future offices in Europe and in Japan. To summarize what the game is like, PUBG, which is short for Playerunknown's Battlegrounds, puts you and 99 other players into an aircraft, dropping you over an enclosed map. The maps are huge and have various cities, towns, and random farms and facilities located everywhere, so that everybody will have the same chance of survival. When you land, the first thing you want to do is to look for a weapon. You want to be careful though, in case somebody landed near you. Your mission is to kill every single one on the map until you are the last man standing. And as time goes on, a circle will come in and force everybody into a smaller area. Staying outside of the circle will slowly kill you, making it important to stay inside of it. Eventually, the circle will be so small that you will be seeing the remaining people and you have to fight until the last man gets the chicken dinner. Now, considering that there is only one game mode and few maps, currently only 2, a lot of people believe that the game would be highly repetitive and would die out, but surely enough, the game keeps climbing in popularity and it has already been out for nearly a year. The feeling of looting up to 30 minutes and then having to fight for your life leads to some sort of paranoia for some, and being in a gunfight becomes all the more exciting, knowing that you've spent a considerable amount of time gathering those resources that you have, which really can make your adrenaline pump. When realizing that the circle is getting smaller and there are just a handful of players left, the battles become more tense, and then when finally winning that round of PUBG, the endorphins in your body just makes the game all the more fun and rewarding, even though you don't get an actual reward from winning. After selling 2 million copies, Bluehole held a charity tournament having several big streamers play the game to collect money for charity. A few months later, ESL started hosting PUBG as an esport, with teams like TSM and Cloud9 creating PUBG teams for the game, signaling a possible esports future for the game. But now, over to something completely different. Why is the game so appealing? Well, to find out exactly what makes it so addictive, you have to play the game yourself. Knowing you only have one life, and that if you die, all of your progress in that match is lost forever, and you have to start over again, creates some sort of tension in itself. You don't want to die, obviously, because you have collected yourself a rifle, and perhaps a sniper, and plenty of medical items to survive until the last few circles, and then somebody approaches you in the game having the same feeling. It gives you an actual physical reaction you can compare to what you get on rides in amusement parks. The fear you feel before the roller coaster rolls down steep tracks, and then when the ride finally starts, endorphins are released, making you feel good, just like it does when winning the game. When the ride is over, you think to yourself, thank God, I'm glad that's over, but you probably also think, that was scary, let's do it again. What I just described is the feeling that a lot of people get from PUBG, and is probably the biggest reason why people keep coming back to the game. You might find yourself running through a village, realizing that the buildings has been looted, but then all out of a sudden you see several houses on the other side of the town that hasn't been opened yet. You tell your friends to be quiet, and you all listen. You hear footsteps in one of the nearby houses, and you try to sneak around from cover to cover and locate the hostiles before engaging in a battle to the death. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. Nonetheless, you should have at least a little bit of a thrilling feel, which makes you keep wanting to play the game, especially when you win that sweet team fight in the end of the game. But you might also think to yourself, some people play this game for hours and doesn't even get close to winning, yet they keep playing the game. Now that could be compared to the feeling of mastery or the longing to achieve something. Getting better can be boring sometimes, especially when you never see progress. In games like Call of Duty, you're likely to encounter super good players that release havoc on your entire team, and if you kill that person, all that really happens is that he respawns in seconds and continues to shred your team. In PUBG, it's not like that. It's much harder to master the game, and the RNG nature of the game helps even people considered bad to potentially get far in the game, and once they get far enough and taste that sweet taste of adrenaline, it's hard to leave the game at that. Another crucial factor is how the game uses your mind. In games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, or any other game, you can run around mindlessly trying to find some enemies and just shoot them. You might get carried by somebody better than you in the games, and it can become boring. Not just for you, but for your brain. PUBG is not quite like that. PUBG is a game that requires more of the player. It doesn't all come down to your skills with the keyboard and mouse, or how good your computer runs the game. In the end, it all comes down to how you play. In certain situations, you have to anticipate what the enemy might do and play accordingly. You have to play smarter, follow tracks, and read the terrain. Whilst looking at the map, you also have to look around for your enemies, which might be sneaking up on you, being unaware of your whereabouts a mile away. At the same time, you have to stay alert and be aware of what you loot and what you need, and where you can find this stuff. In the last few minutes of the round, you have to keep calm. Make sure that your nerves and adrenaline shock doesn't affect your performance negatively. Overall, the game requires more of you mentally than other games, which again keeps the brain entertained. When the brain is being highly active, it will become addicted to working like that, and you will have the feeling that the game is satisfying at all times. And it's a lot of psychology really, and it's just how the game is built up. Now, how can you become better at the game? It's really not easy to say, as you might follow all the steps I'm about to say and you may not have any difference in your games whatsoever. It all comes down to position, really. The arguably most important factor in PUBG is to have cover at all times. You can only see about 120 degrees forward at the time, so you want to make sure that nobody can shoot you from behind or whatever your blind side is. Follow the terrain and look at the ridges. If you have a blue circle behind you and the ridge in front of you, you can almost certainly be sure that nobody will come from behind, especially in the later stages of the game. Finding and learning how to use your favorite gun would also give you a massive advantage. As for me, my favorite gun is the M416, based on the German Heckler & Koch HK416. Learning the spray pattern, what attachments are best for your gun, and what scope or sight you prefer will make a huge difference in gunfights, and ultimately will help you win your first chicken dinner. Another thing that's almost 100% will increase your chances is to know the map. Know where people usually drop, and know where the best loot usually spawns. PUBG has certain areas such as Picado on the desert map, or the military base on the original map, which are considered high risk, high reward areas. There will always be loads upon loads of people dropping in these areas, and for good reason. The loot there are almost always top tier, like M416s and SCAR-Ls spawning, or level 2 and level 3 items spawning at a much higher density and probability than any other place in the game. I personally try to avoid these areas, but I still like to land in the middle of cities, like middle-sized cities. There will always be plenty of loot, but a lower risk of getting killed early. The list goes on. I simply wanted to give you my personal best tips on how to get better at the game. Although I have only about 300 hours in the game, I've already won over 70 to 80 games, and I usually end up at top 10 in 60% of my total games, so I consider myself an above average good player, and that is mostly because of how I play the game. Another good idea is to play with some friends, and if you want to win, play with friends that have approximately the same amount of skill as you. In a game like PUBG, where you constantly have to think about your actions, future outcomes, having to communicate, having to perform in order to work as a team, there are a lot of factors that are needed to play efficiently in PUBG, and a person's true personality and how he handles, for example, stress or situations where he might be in the wrong can be unveiled. And playing PUBG with friends doesn't just make your chances of winning higher, but it actually can make or break your friendships. Learning how to work in a team is essential, not just in PUBG, but in everyday life. That is something you also could keep in mind when playing the game. So, as you might have learned, PUBG is a great game which has completely renovated the way we play video games, with pretenders like Fortnite amongst others attempting the same battle royale idea, but that doesn't really mean that the game doesn't have its flaws. PUBG has had a huge problem with hackers, having banned over 1 million cheaters in January 2018 alone, especially in the Asian, specifically Chinese player base. The game also has several bugs that has been untouched since the initial release of the game to early access, like this one right here on the screen. Now, a highly requested feature is a map selection, which really shouldn't be a problem to implement. A lot of people dislike the new map, for instance, and the map itself has several flaws, such as the terrain in a lot of places are too open, or it's very bumpy, and there are several spots for cars to get stuck and damaged. Also, the frame rate isn't great. I have a GTX 970 and an overclocked i5 6600K, I believe, clocked in at 4.5 GHz and 16 GB of RAM. Yet I run this game with every setting on the lowest except for the render distance and anti-aliasing, which is necessary to see the people properly and to differentiate bushes from people, basically. And yet I run the game at about 60 FPS at most. Optimizing the game would definitely increase the player base, as a lot of people simply can't run the game, and not everyone has an average or even above average gaming PC. Now, with that being said, the frame rate has increased drastically since the initial release back in 2017, and is more playable with all the settings on very low. Also, Bluehole, please give us name change. PUBG is with no doubt a game that we have never seen anything like before, and the devs are doing a good job with keeping the player base satisfied with regular updates and new maps soon to be announced. Even with its flaws, Battlegrounds is a game that can be enjoyed by almost anyone who plays it, and without even rewarding you anything for winning, you still feel a feel of accomplishment for a virtual chicken dinner. Kind of weird, isn't it? PUBG remains to be one of my favorite games so far, and after playing it for nearly a year, I still cannot get enough of it. If you would like to see some more videos of me playing this game, feel free to subscribe to my second channel. There will be a link for that channel in the description for anybody who is interested in that. So, did you enjoy this video? Did I say something you don't agree on, or perhaps you thought my points were interesting? Do you have any suggestions for future videos, or perhaps you have some suggestions for what I can do to improve my videos? Feel free to leave a comment and subscribe for more content like this every month. I will be trying to make a video a month, though these videos take a lot of time to make, so I really want to make all of them in as good quality as possible, something similar to this one. So if you would like to take your time to give me some feedback, I would highly appreciate that. And with that, I would like to end the video. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.